Hey you guys, today I just wanted to go over some tips for when you're shooting at the temple. These are just tips, they're absolutely not required or mandatory, but they're just things that I've kind of picked up over time that have made my job easier and have made my bride and grooms happier. So my first tip is to be early, of course. I get there at the same time that their sealing starts. I don't necessarily count that as time on the clock. Some people do. I don't necessarily think that's fair, so just get there, I would say, within 20 minutes of the start of their sealing. So if it starts at noon, get there at 12:20 at the latest, because about 30 to 40 minutes after the sealing starts, that's when family starts heading out. So just be safe, be courteous, and don't risk missing an extremely important moment of someone's day. So find your party as soon as you can. Identify who the important people are. So I usually go to like a sister or a friend and I'll say like, where are the parents, where are the grandparents? And I'll just kind of start taking a few candidates of them, or I'll get the parents and I'll be like, hey, let me get a picture of you two real quick. So as long as you make the parents feel special, your day should probably go pretty well because they're usually the ones paying for it. So definitely make sure that they know who you are, be kind to them, take photos of them, take their special requests, because the happier they are, the better we will all be in the long run. So start shooting the waiting family. You don't have to go overboard. Just take a few. Like if there's kids playing, get that, and then really just focus on the family. So if you are shooting at temples like the Salt Lake Temple or the Bountiful Temple, where you can run inside real quick when you see the couple or when someone kind of gives you a heads up, just go give them a little pep talk. Just congratulate them, tell them they look beautiful, and then tell them like walk slow, enjoy the moment, like stop and kiss. If you want to, that's absolutely not necessary, and honestly the results will look the same whether you talk to them or not, but it's just something I like to do. That way they know that you're there, and they'll be more cognizant of what they do when they step out. So after you shoot the exit, you can get those hugs of like the family members, but I always look at my camera at that point and make sure that the exit turned out before I move on. So as soon as those hugs are finished and you're happy with the exit, just start moving people. It's okay to be a little bit bossy as long as you're not being rude, but we're on a time limit and the family usually has a luncheon to get to. So I usually grab some bridesmaids and I say, hey, like let's get everybody over to these stairs real quick before someone else takes them. Obviously find the stairs that are in the best lighting. If you have to wait a little bit, start shooting, your smaller combination shots, but do the best you can to get the good stairs. Sometimes, no matter what, there's going to be harsh lighting and you just have to work with it and then fix it in post-production. So one thing that I do that I've never seen anyone else do, but it's 100% optional, it's just what works for me, is I make a list with the bride ahead of time. So a few days before, we'll be texting about like her must-have photos. I'll send her an example list and then she'll just tell me what she wants or what she doesn't want, because I don't want anybody to leave that day and then regret not getting something that they wanted. So make a list. I start big and then just narrow it down. So this list here, it's just a random example because I just happen to have a photo of it, but it's actually changed a lot since then. So now I would do everyone and then I would just skip right to the bride's direct family, and then I would go from everyone right to the bride's extended family. So get the big group shot, do the smiling ones. I zoom in and I double check and I make sure everybody's eyes are open before I move on. So I make sure there's at least one great one before I have those people leave. And then I would do the bride's extended family. Then I would do the bride's direct family. Then I would do individuals with mom, dad, and each sibling. And then just like her and her siblings, just her and her parents. Then I would do the same thing for the groom. Make sure you get ones with the grandparents. Usually I do bride, groom, and all their grandparents. Just knock it out all at once rather than like just the bride side, just the groom side. After that, family is good to go usually. So I move on to the bridal party. Just the bridesmaids, just the groomsmen. Special request. I just put that in here on this picture because I accidentally wrote 12 spaces and I only had 11 ideas. So if you want to ask for a special request, that's fine. and then just the bride and groom portraits. So going back from the top, when I start with everyone, I just kind of keep ushering them all onto the stairs. And then once they're there, I talk about windows. That's, between the two people in front of you shoulders. I'm like, if you can't see my lens, I won't be able to see you. So shift around a little bit, fill in all the empty spaces. I remind them, usually it's going to be cold for the next few months. So I'm saying, I know it's cold. So the faster we get this done, the faster you can leave. I say, look at my list. Look at where you are on this list. Be ready when your time comes, but you are good to go as soon as you're no longer needed. So for instance, just a friend of the family would be in the first shot and then they're good to go. That way the expectations are clear for everyone. Nobody's standing around waiting. And also I don't have to be yelling. So the communication is so much more clear. And every single time I've done this, I've had people come up to me after and thank me because they usually just stand around and they have no idea and they're cold and they're irritable and they're hungry. So just make it easier for everyone. If you want to bring a list, I highly encourage it. I find it to be so helpful. Okay, so let me see. Yep, so just narrow it down. It's okay to be a little bit bossy. Just knock those pictures out quickly. And I kind of remind the guests, I'm saying, as soon as you are done with these group shots, then that means the bride and groom get more portraits for themselves. Sometimes I kind of scare them a little bit too. I'll be like, all right, you guys, I have 45 minutes to get all of this done. And then I'll kind of tell the bride, I'm like, I don't really care about timing, but it's just to make sure that your guests are on task and moving. All right, so moving on, the bridal party. So just have fun with these. Wait till the family's all done and then just take your time on these. Be creative. I always ask for suggestions. I tell the girls, I'm like, if you can think of anything fun you want to do, just yell it out and let's do it. And I tell the guys if there's anything fun they want to do. And usually, you wouldn't expect that groomsmen would love getting their pictures taken, but in my experience, they really do. So just have fun with it. Do that picture where you toss the groom up in the air. They love it. Get a bunch of combos of all of them together. And if time permits, I highly encourage you to get pictures of just the bride and each individual bridesmaid and just the groom and each individual groomsman. And that absolutely goes for the family photos too. I cannot stress enough how many pictures you should take of the mom and the bride, because she's the one who's going to set the tone, for how they're all going to react to these photos. So if she's like, oh, there's a lot of me and I look good, that's a really good sign. So get so many pictures of the mom and the bride, and then get pictures of just the dad and the groom and the mom and the groom, just each individual sibling with the bride and groom. Because, if you think about it, those are the pictures that these guests are going to be posting and hopefully tagging us in. So the more publicity we can get, the better. So in terms of lighting, it's sometimes, you just have to own it. When they're coming out of the temple, if there's harsh light, find your best angle and just go for it. You can fix a lot later when you're editing. When you're taking that large group photo, sometimes there's only one set of stairs that you can use, or like here in this example in the Payson temple, that's like really the only spot. So just do it, own it, and then as soon as you're done with those shots, when you're going around for the smaller combos or just the portraits, be smart. Making sure that the couple looks good is a little more important, I think, than having a background. So this next slide is just an example. So for this first photo, there was like a nice kind of filtered light because it was kind of cloudy, but then the sun kept peeking out and then casting this really harsh, unflattering light. And this center picture is an example of that, but it would get a lot worse. So that's casting unflattering shadows on the bride and her guests and her family. So whenever the sun would peek out, I would just rotate, they don't have to move. We just turn. And that way there's a more flattering, even light on our clients' faces, even though the background isn't as great. So that's the 3 examples there. The first one is good background, good light. Next one is good background, bad light. And then worse background, good light. So some tips for once everything is done when you're going around and taking your portraits. I don't care if you already took a million bridals of them. This is still their wedding day. So don't be like, oh yeah, we got these, we're good to go. Just take a lap, take the pictures anyway. One of my favorite things to do is during the bridal portraits, not the bridal portraits, the bridal party portraits. I will ask if any of the bridesmaids or maybe a sister of the bride want to come around with me. I just want one volunteer to come around with the portraits with us because they can be in charge of touch-ups. I'm usually more focused on like composition or how sharp the image is or my settings that I might not notice, a flyaway hair that I would have to go back and edit later, or, if her garments are showing or if his pants are stuck on his shoe, So it's just really nice to have a second pair of eyes to go through and just be on detail control. So always steal a helper if you can. Make sure they're a competent one. And that's going to save you a lot of bad photos later or additional editing. So when I start the portrait session, I just say, if you guys have any ideas, yell them out at any time and I'd be happy to do them. That being said, if they give you a list of like 50 things that they found on Pinterest, that's kind of where you can draw the line. You can say, I'll do my best, but don't say this, but when they hire an artist, they're hiring you for your eye and for your judgment. So if they just give you a list of everything they want, that kind of defeats the purpose of hiring an artist. But if they have ideas, just, happily take them. Walk or lap around the temple. Anything you see, just go for it. Don't stress too much about timing unless they need to be somewhere. Usually we have a few hours between the reception and the temple anyway, and like, what else are you going to do? So don't be completely stingy. Just make sure you have everything you need before you leave. If that's within the time frame, that's great. If it goes a little bit over, it's fine. Just let it go. The better pictures you have, it benefits all of us. It benefits the couple. It benefits our portfolios, and it benefits the company as a whole. Right before you think you're done, just ask them, is there anything else you want that you haven't done? Saying that is kind of like your insurance, I guess, so that they can't come back later and be like, hey, I wanted a picture with, the stairs, because you could be like, okay, well, I asked you if there's anything else you wanted, and you didn't say anything. So just say that every time. Start with, if you have any ideas, let me know, and end with, is there anything else you haven't done yet that you want to do? All right, my last slide is just a thank you. I don't know who took a lot of the pictures in this slideshow. I just picked some random ones that I liked. These two in particular are so beautiful. Whoever took them, they're amazing. So thank you guys. I think you're so awesome, and I think our work is beautiful, and I'm so excited to see what 2019 has in store for us.